Ladies and gentlemen, this is your tea time champion, Theo Ivory, and you are now listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
What's going on, everybody? This is the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
And this is the Fly Side Flyer, Jalen Brandon.
And we collectively known as Waves and Curls, and you are listening to
Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, bringing you the latest exclusive news, previewing and reviewing the latest shows from WWE, AEW, New Japan, and everything in between every Saturday, and interviewing all your favorite wrestlers on Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox. I am your host, James J., alongside Kaliko Yachts.
Got my tequila and tostadas because it's about to be a long one right now.
And Scooter Dust.
I finally got my Beskar umbrella.
Only took you, what, couple months?
Took me till 6 in the morning.
Man, that's dedication.
Huh? Gotta admire that dedication. And it's a great day for wrestling, because we are on our 100th episode.
For centuries.
And, there was a time when I didn't think we would get past the third episode. And here we are on the 100. And I'd like to thank, our fans for listening, for getting us to this point.
Yes.
The original host, Cooper James, Kaliko Yachts, Mitch Mayhem, and Scooter Dust. This could not have been possible without any of you guys.
Yeah, you're right.
Man, I was about to go like, oh yeah, I'm just a pawn, but once he took that road, I'm like, all right, yeah, let's just float a bit.
We are the melting pot of wrestling podcasts, and cheers to the listeners, and to you, and James, and to you, Kaliko, and to anybody else within the earshot. Cheers to the next 100.
And there we go.
I'll drink to that. I got the tequila. I hope y'all hear it.
Give us
It's rattling.
Give us a toast, Kaliko.
A little cilantro.
And before we kind of start, big news, big congratulations to Basic Becca for winning the Women's Chaotic World Championship. It was just a month ago we had her on, and now she's champion. That's pretty great.
Yeah, there's also another title change. I guess title accrued from our interview alumnus, Devian and JT Dunn are Chaotic Tag Team Champions.
Oh. Well.
Wow.
All right. Interesting.
Yes, I read that in the results. Now, Chaotic tapes a lot of their stuff in advance. So, I read about the results on social media. I'm not sure if they've technically taken place already, but Chaotic has acknowledged them. So, yeah, the success and congrats all around. I mean, God, we're so proud.
Big congratulations to Basic Becca and DVN. And you guys definitely earned those opportunities.
In other words, stick with us and you'll get strapped.
There you go.
Warning, may not actually get strapped.
And last Wednesday, we had Waves and Calls on, our first tag team. And that was a pretty good interview. Kaliko vibing with these guys, and maybe one of our best bizarre adventures from Trayvon Jordan. And I believe Jalen just made his return as well. So big congrats to him as well.
Yeah, they can finally like do their thing. To me, it just it felt good with them. It felt like you just known them for forever. You know what I mean? And well, considering me and Scooter of the age where they know, we could get their references. So
Yeah.
Next week on the show, we got Space Jesus, Billy Starks. Got two middle-aged guys and me interviewing a teenage girl. What could possibly go wrong?
Murphy's Law.
I mean, the fact that we're being given heavy consideration in choosing the name for her finisher, I think says a lot.
Hey, any consideration we could get, let's get it. And that was definitely an incredible interview with one of somebody that's going to be a big star in the next 2 to 3 years, without doubt.
Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
not even if it's not necessarily in the ring. She's got a knack, along with the people she surrounds herself with, for branding.
Big Starks fan, never
Yeah,
lost.
and that's like, you do that right. That's almost automatic money. That's automatic success, and that's so rare to see. And it's just, again, it's absolutely amazing.
And we got
Yeah, I agree. She's ahead of her time, man. I feel like 2, 3 years. I'm thinking within a year because she's already on the radar. So at this point, just rocket countdown to takeoff.
and on the 17th of February, we got Little Mean Kathleen coming up. OG Scrunchy Squad, and I gotta say, this was definitely a fun interview. Well, it's not every day we get to talk about Jane Austen and video games, so yeah, better fresh air. And she might be in line for a championship match against Becca. We don't know. She did beat her a couple of weeks back on Eastern, West
On
East.
NEW.
Yeah.
Let's
And
hope not. We don't need any scrunchy wars. You know what I'm saying? We gotta keep the peace.
Are you telling me we're gonna have a WrestleMania 2000 situation where we're each gonna have to be in the corner of one of them?
I called Becca.
All right, well, I'll take Paris.
Okay, a little mean, Kathleen. Okay, I got her. To the top, to the moon, baby. Ain't that what George
and
Cameron Grimes say? To the moon.
and after that, we got Sean Phoenix. And this was such a big interview. It could not be contained by one day. We had to split it into a two-part well, not even mini interview, but you're going to get Sean Phoenix part 1 on the 20th of February, which is actually Sean's birthday. And on the 24th, you will get Sean Phoenix part 2 as so on the 20th is a Saturday show after, our preview and review show. Go watch that interview. And then the 24th, our normal Wednesday airing. The 24th will definitely have the 8 questions of Doom, the Will You See Yourself in 5 Years, and Bizarre Adventure. Unbelievable interview,
Oh,
incredible guy.
yeah.
I can't say enough good things about this interview. All I could really say is you have to watch it, right, guys?
Yeah. In fact, we're still in the middle of it.
We're still at the last end of it. I feel like it's a 3-part saga, but it is probably the best 3-part saga you could think of.
Yeah, we like to, we do speak highly about ourselves a lot, but we do I believe, James believes, I know Kaliko believes. We all put in a great effort and do great work. But when the people we interview, I notice I didn't say wrestlers, people that we interview are able to praise us for the effort that's put in. Uh, there's no better sign that we've succeeded than that. And if I may make a suggestion, I think maybe if you haven't already, pin that tweet from Mr. Phoenix.
I actually did. It's
Great
at
minds.
it is at the top of the Wrestling with E
Great minds.
Twitter page. You could look at it right now.
Yes, all right.
Honestly, I think that guy, and I know everybody's been awesome, but I think that guy was the most human like I've ever seen in my life. Like he's awesome. It's worth the listen. Please go listen to it. We just don't go over gimmicks. It's just basically life. And I feel like that episode we can all learn something from it, and that's why I feel like that's the most important episode I think we've ever done.
Once again, part 1 on Saturday the 20th, and part 2 on the 24th on Wednesday.
Fourth.
Yeah.
Fourth.
Okay.
Fourth.
And some people, the way it rolls off the tongue, just.
I have an issue with my R's. Lay off me. It's the 100th episode.
Keep the peace for now.
Now that we're done putting ourselves over, it's time to talk about a little bit of bad news. Butch Reed passed away, I believe yesterday.
Yes, yesterday. The natural Butch Reed, as some may know, heart complications. He was 66, which these days is young.
Yeah.
But it's very eerie that it's Butch Reed, because Butch Reed played for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Really?
Yeah, he played Pro Bowl for the Kansas City Chiefs, who are facing the Bucks tomorrow at the big game. But starting his career out in the late 70s, trained by Ronnie Edgerson, debuting in 1978 as Bruce Reed, originally started out with the name Hacksaw Butch Reed until he came into a feud against Jim Duggan in Mid-South over the Hacksaw name. And imagine this, that Hacksaw Jim Duggan was the heel here, and Butch Reed was the face. Because Jim Duggan was part of a group called the Rat Pack at the time. Then they would feud over the name. Jim Duggan would claim it and basically run with it. Reed would enjoy a good deal of success in Mid-South, winning the North American Heavyweight Championship. Memorable feud with the Junkyard Dog, as well as Magnum TA. Also, Butch Reed was also a tag team title holder with Jim Neidhart in Mid-South as well. if you have seen Mid South before in the early '80s, then you'll know about the infamous Christmas cage match between Magnum TA and Mr. Wrestling 2 against Butch Reed and Jim Neidhart that led to Butch Reed and Jim Neidhart essentially breaking up. Eventually, Butch Reed's career would continue, and he would get involved with Sonny King and Ernie Ladd, which by 84, 85, Ernie Ladd really wasn't wrestling anymore. And
Bundy, you're taking money, Bundy.
yeah, but then around that time, he makes his way up to Stanford for the WWF. There's a lot more in between, but Reed was repackaged as the natural Butch Reed, given blonde hair, and it was believed that Butch Reed, and you can hear this from multiple sources who've written books on it, that Butch Reed was one of the people Vince was considering building the rock and wrestling era of wrestling around. And you can only imagine what that would have been if it was Butch Reed and not Hulk Hogan. But Butch Reed would have been a reign with the. I'm sorry. He was going to become Intercontinental Champion. He was gonna feud with Ricky Steamboat after WrestleMania 3. But an infamous rumor about him no-showing a set of TV tapings where he was booked to win the title that resulted in the Honky Tonk Man winning the title instead.
And going on an 87-week streak that has yet to be broken.
Yep. Reed would come back, competing in the WrestleMania 4 tournament, losing to Randy Savage in the first round. Reed would also compete in the first Survivor Series as well as part of Entree's team against Team Hogan. He was also the first elimination by Hogan. Butch Reed also has the honor of being the first man ever eliminated in a Royal Rumble match in January 1988. But Butch Reed's biggest success, and probably what most modern wrestling fans remember him for, is his team with Ron Simmons in Jim Crockett Promotions and the NWA and World Championship Wrestling as one half of Doom. And
I was going to say his biggest success was creating Netflix.
that was Reed Hastings.
No, that's an open legend that Butch Reed actually invented Netflix. He was living off that good old Netflix money for a long time. He also invented eBay as well. But
that's my surprise. But go on. They would go on to have legendary feuds with the Steiner brothers, Eddie Gilbert and Tommy Rich, as well. The Road Warriors, the Samoan SWAT team. Doom originally started out wearing masks, which a lot of people found very odd, considering that they were. Yes, most people knew who they were immediately.
Yeah, they were black.
Thank you. I didn't want to be the one to say that. But
Butch Reed is an underrated talent.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
And
but at the same time, if he had more of the drive to match the talent, his career would be different because the other thing is there was a lot of burnout among throughout his career in the early 90s. His last notable appearance for a promotion was in 1994 for the Global Wrestling Federation. That's a name that takes me back because I used to watch that as a kid. Reed was the second to last GWF North American champion. Lost it to Chris Adams before the promotion folded. Reed would do some work for Harley Race's WLW promotion, and then basically almost literally retired. But his last official match on record, November 4th, 2011, 11-4-11, teaming with Angel the Fifth against Justin Lee and Max McGurk, the son of WWF announcer Mike McGurk.
I was going to say the name sounds familiar.
Yes, the first female announcer in wrestling. Yep.
Nico, you want to say some words about Butch Reed?
I'll let Scooter finish the
Actually,
because to me that's important, because the reason being is, like, my first introduction to him was in the Mid-South, like Scooter said. And when in the Mid-South as a black wrestler, you're already over with the black crowd because it's just like representation mattered so much in wrestling. You see what I'm saying? And it was he was one of the far and few black wrestlers that were prevalent on the scene. And to me, when he got with Doom in WCW, think about this, because by the time they got to become Doom in the late 80s, early 90s, you could only name 2 black tag teams that were in the 80s, Rocky Johnson, Tony Atlas, and Doom. You see what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
So to me, that is their legacy, being a top dominant tag team in an era where, I mean, black wrestlers weren't really on the scene like that. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, you had the Junkyard Dog and Virgil and a couple of others, but as far as like on a national landscape, you know what I mean? Doom is the reason Ron Simmons got propelled in the first place. So that's why I say there's no first black wrestling heavyweight champion without Doom.
Yeah.
So to me, he plays a heavy, maybe not a role in winning the belt, but he plays a role into the road to even getting that shot.
Yeah, so more of an indirect role than a direct role. And yeah, you wouldn't have Ron Simmons as world champion without Butch Reed. You wouldn't have, probably also wouldn't have Woman either coming into the business as well. I mean, there's so much of what we don't realize that Butch Reed had a indirect a connection to that. Like, and just to think about what could have happened if minds were different, and it's just it's one of those what ifs that I think I really want to pursue in terms of fictional writing.
What?
Yeah, because I was thinking when Ron Simmons won the belt, what if Butch Reed was the first feud?
that
That
would have
to
been
me would have
interesting.
been like interesting. And side
Uh-huh.
note, Teddy Long
Ah,
looks the same in 2021 as he did in '89.
and you have to question what if Butch Reed showed up that day when Honky Tonk Man got that nod for the Intercontinental Championship. Could it have been him that got that 87-week streak as champion? Um, Unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever really understand what would have happened if those things did happen. Um, but once again, Butch Reed, a guy we don't talk a lot about, but maybe we should in the future. Again, our thoughts and prayers go out to his family, and yeah. On another note, Lars Sullivan got fired this week. Some say that this was a long time coming. Some say that it might have been a shock. What say you, Scooter?
Uh, let's start with Kaliko. Let's start with Kaliko because I took up a lot of time talking about Butch. I think it's only fair. And
Honestly, all I gotta say is all those speculations came to pass, and he got fired next. Because I mean, to be quite honest, it's not like I see where it's gonna go. Because I don't know. People are gonna try to say, "Oh, maybe Lars Sullivan got fired. Maybe Velveteen should get fired." Blah blah. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's gonna go down that road. The difference is Velveteen got people like vouching for him, and Lars did not. So that's the whole big. That's basically the difference. Like,
and the thing with Lars is that you know, I mean, Lars had did some questionable stuff, but like,
To say the least.
I mean, he wasn't. Was Lars ever actually accused of doing anything illegal?
Not necessarily legal, but definitely questionable.
I mean, yes, he was a yes, he was a porn star. At
I
one
mean,
point.
that's not a killer though, because Paige
Oh,
got caught
stop.
literally with a sex tape. So I mean,
Yeah. So, and I mean, quite honestly, Lars, he was boring. He wasn't that exciting as a big scary guy that came in and wrecked everybody. I mean, like I maybe it's the curse of having the last name of Sullivan.
Ooh. Well,
damn. But I think you're spot on with that, because to me, the difference between him and Velveteen Dream is Velveteen was over, like hella over,
right.
and Lars wasn't.
Well, maybe on the upside, maybe he'll get those booty pics now that he's not in the public eye. Moving on to somebody else that got fired. Steve Cutler from the Forgotten Sons.
Who?
And
The Cutler did it.
I shouldn't have said that.
some people might say that the wrong Forgotten Son got fired here. What say you, Kaliko?
Because they're expecting Jackson Riker to get fired. But the problem is you just can't fire nobody for political views. To me, I mean, that I've always said that. Like, when people start bringing it to the forefront and it fucks with their character. Because the problem is social media is kind of like an extension of the character now. And that's a give and a curse in any kind of way. So if he had a personal burner account like Kevin Durant and was doing that, nobody would have knew. But I think it was because he got COVID and he went to a party and he was loose with it,
Ooh.
and for him, for a person of his stature with the company, he's not the guy on TV every week, so he easily could get, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you could easily get cut off the scene. It ain't like if you were Drew McIntyre and got COVID. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Like Drew McIntyre got COVID, and it's a different story because he's in the upper echelon and he earned his way to the top. Vice of Steve Cutler, who at his point maybe was doing it irresponsibly because allegedly it's because he went to a party with this girlfriend with Deanna Barrazzo and it was on New Year's Eve. So it kind of builds into an irresponsibleness of Steve Cutler.
Because she also reported that she had tested positive for it too.
That's right. You wanna add anything to that, Scooter?
You know, they the the Suns were being brought in as Corbin's right hands. As far as we know, Wesley Blake is still still employed.
Yeah.
But God help us, somebody save Murphy. Somebody make sure Murphy doesn't but Steve Cutler was. I mean that's really like the most generic name. Like I remember an episode of ECW on Sci-Fi when it was I'm not sure if it was the same. I believe it was John Cutler, and Mike Adamle said, and I think it was John Cutler against Kofi Kingston, and Adamle came out with the stupidest dad joke ever. I go, if Kofi's opponent wins, then the Cutler will have done it. The Butler did it. Like, oh my god. But nobody will miss Steve Cutler. I'm sorry. Maybe it's time for Blake and Murphy to reform their team.
You know, that won't actually suck. I mean, they tried singles. It didn't necessarily work. Time to go back to what's wrong. On the AEW news, side of news, 2 weeks ago, the episode which featured the Good Brothers and the Young Bucks teaming was the most censored episode of AEW ever. Most notably for Gallows swinging the belt like genitalia and mimicking smoking joints. I mean, if you've seen these guys wrestle before, you know that that's nothing new that they haven't done in the past. But then again, that was online and not on a major TV brand like TNT. Am I right or am I wrong on that, Squirrel?
You're right. But if you were watching it live, you did get to see everything
Right.
in full. And I still have that episode on my DVR. But also probably not exactly censored for necessarily like those reasons. Mostly censored to get people talking about the fact that it was censored to indicate the possible line in the sand between Impact and AEW. So it's all really about really at this point. Really, it's all a game of manipulating social media.
Interesting. So, what about you, Cutler? Do you think this was a network issue, or do you think this is kind of a storyline issue?
The issue, I can see his point, because on the West Coast you're not gonna get it because it's showed live. Like
Oh,
even though it's
I saw it live.
no for me, because like me personally, because I have YouTube TV, so like it's a West Coast delay. So by the time it plays, it's already censored out. If that makes sense.
Ah, I see.
So because like how can I put it? Most of the channels are ran on East Coast, with the exception of a couple of streaming channels that actually stream West Coast, and by the time you get it, it's censored. It, I think it is to get people talking. It's hard to define what that was, because I could see TNT doing it just off the rip. That I mean, their biggest draw is TNT, and TNT is NBA, which is a family-oriented sport. So I could see it, but I can't see it because of the simple fact that AEW is supposed to be this wild, wild west, land of the free, home of the brave, wrestling, wrestling company. So it flip a coin. Like, that's pretty much how I am with it. I mean, I don't know if they would do that to get people talking, in the sense that what they're doing with all these companies are getting people talking as it is. So I don't know what that would add to it.
Okay, let me see if I can maybe frame this in a different way. What if instead of Gallows, it was Matt Jackson who was swinging the belt like genitalia?
I mean,
okay, I see your point. I see what you're saying, in the sense that it's basically AEW censoring Impact, censoring the Impact guy.
Exactly.
Well, if you did notice, Gallows did try to hand the fake joint to Matt Jackson, and he refused. So you might have a point there.
But Matt Jackson is also like Mr. Executive Company Man now.
Exactly.
He's no longer the rebel, and that's the problem. Like, it was easy for them, and I love the Young Bucks, I love all of them, but it was easy to rail against these companies who have to toe that TV line. But now they're seeing the side of it that maybe they didn't see.
Right.
I mean, would you really try to like highlight the fact that another team's champions are in your TV main event, and they're doing this stuff that's really bringing attention to them, that essentially they're possibly getting more over than your stars, so to speak. It's all in the cards. So, yeah.
Oh, we'll get into that, because they are like trying to be the melting. They're trying to be like the Voltron of wrestling, and that's a whole other issue.
It's a Megazord of wrestling.
Exactly.
Just continuing with AEW, this week on Dynamite, KENTA attacked Jon Moxley. Obviously, KENTA is a New Japan star, and we've kind of been. Seems like AEW and New Japan has been doing this little dance in between for the last 2 years, so to speak, and I think they might be finally reach some type of deal to have KENTA on not only AEW, but possibly having a match next week on their TV.
I think it's been announced. It is going to be KENTA.
Yeah. And Moxley is super strong.
Right.
Is this big for AEW, or is this bigger for New Japan?
I think Tony Khan's taken credit for it. So, I mean, like saying that he allowed, like, basically, that, like, he allowed it to happen. So I could see this as like, maybe Moxley now leads up another like faction. It's a wait and see. It's really wait and see at this point because
Like the Impact
I mean,
situation.
yeah, I mean, honestly, I I'll be honest. I didn't watch. I only read the results, and when I saw Kenta, I gasped because that was really unexpected.
Right.
Well, in his Twitter, he if you saw his Twitter build up, it was coming. We just didn't know when because he was like he had like a little timeline where it's like, how far is Jacksonville from Orlando? Today's gonna be a good day, so on so on. So yeah, he had it going.
Hey, I gotta appreciate Kenta for what he did. I mean, you don't come to my house and attack me. No, I'll come to your house and attack you. And one of the other things I found interesting is, Kenta's Bullet Club. Kenny Omega used to be Bullet Club. Gallows and Anderson invented Bullet Club. So I'm a little interested to see the Bullet Club side of whose allegiances lie where, and if this continues. So
Except Jay White said, "Ain't no damn Bullet Club." He made it clear. And the interesting thing with this New Japan thing is that in the screenshot, because I watched it when they announced the match next week, they recognized Moxley as the IWGP United States champion. So that's where it's the wait and see approach, because keep in mind, he was the AEW heavyweight champion. They didn't even bring up the fact that, oh yeah, he's also dominating this other company. But now, since they're dancing, now they want to recognize the championship.
right. And switching to the New Japan side of things, New Japan is on Roku now. Is that in the Roku channel? That's a big thing for them, correct?
Yeah, I would definitely say it's a big step. Pluto TV is now opening up more wrestling channels as well. Instead of focusing just on Impact and TNA. That's specifically a channel for pro wrestling. So this is really a great time if you're looking to discover things that aren't Raw, SmackDown, or NXT. Now you've got more options than ever. Yeah, you'll have to invest a little bit of work because let's face it, when is it ever that easy to watch New Japan? Just to just click and turn it on. No, there's always something involved. Whether it be a VPN or yeah, now you got to buy a Roku stick.
How are you watching New Japan? Because I just turned on my Xbox and it's on.
Well, I used to get it by other means from the internet, but I will say I agree with Scooter that it's better than Access. And considering that I got a smart TV with Roku in it, I'm like, hell yeah, shit. Let me get this thing jumping.
Yeah.
It's big. It's bigger more so than the fact that they are on something where a lot of TVs could
Yeah.
come with it.
Yeah, that's the point I was trying to make. Thank
And
you, Coach.
that is the most important part because not Access TV wasn't everywhere. It wasn't in Tennessee. It wasn't in the South. You know what I mean? It was barely out here on the West Coast. So I think the ability to enter more homes just by default of people buying smart TVs is a fucking smart deal.
And earlier this week, Jay White returned to New Japan Pro Wrestling.
The blood's in the mail.
Oh, thank you. Scooter, you wanna elaborate a little bit on?
Nope.
Oh, he's ready to gloat. Chase is ready to gloat.
Hold on. I gotta get those footprints of yours off my back. You know, kudos to Jay White for really fooling the people. I mean, but let's face it. Do you really think Jay White was actually going to show up for WWE? No. There was never any case. There was never at any point where Jay White was going to not resign with New Japan. Yes, I knew that, and I still doubled down on my my complete and utter guess. My complete and utter theory. And 95% of the time, the entire wrestling world is operating on theories. So please, if you're out there, don't call me a dumbass for getting a theory wrong. I beg you.
And New Beginnings and the New Beginnings tour ends, I believe, on Tuesday or Thursday. So, definitely going to review those shows next week on the show. But let's do a little prediction time. Kaliko, Sonata and Kota Ibushi, who wins?
Why you gotta put my heart into that, man? Like why you gotta do me like that? You already know it's gonna be Coda because if Sonata wins, I swear to God, I think that's probably bigger than me covering the spread in the Super Bowl. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. So I'm gonna say Coda just for Sonata to go opposite. But back to Jay White though. Jay White though, 6-man tag. That's what he's going after. Not the big belt, but the 6-man tag belt. Like what the hell, man?
Scooter.
I mean, you don't want to talk about the. I mean, the fact that CSJ is being relegated to the penultimate match on night one, and then opening night duty the following night. Like, ooh. But I mean, this is just this is cut and dry for Kota at this point, quite honestly.
I mean, if there was, on my perspective, if there was any shred of chance of Sonata winning that belt, it would be this match against Kota Ibushi. I don't think that New Japan is fully confident in him, and Kota Ibushi as champion. I think that the fire burned brightest at Wrestle Kingdom, and it kind of went out since. And I would be maybe looking for somebody that will bring that fire and represent the company maybe a little bit better than Kota has in this past month.
I mean, you do have, you do have Castle Attack at the end of the month, and then you have Genesis, uh, and then Taco, and then the possibility of Wrestle Dynasty, which, let's face it, probably won't happen.
No. I
But
mean, I think New Japan, they have those like coming up, but they're still doing the wait and see approach because COVID is still running rampant, and they are still going into soft lockdowns every now and again. You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. And this is a company that was known for really planning everything out, like
years in
almost
advance,
to the minute,
right?
and now they have to really play it by ear.
Kind of like a WWE schedule, so to speak.
Which makes me wonder, like, should wrestling companies in general have a essential backup plan? Like these instances. Like, if I was New Japan, I would probably try and run another tournament similar to G1, where we could put out wrestling, but story really wouldn't matter. Yeah.
Well, they usually do that with the World Cup, the New Japan Cup. So,
And that usually comes in March, if I'm not mistaken.
and the only reason I'm giving it credence that Sonata might win is the fact that they booed fucking Ibushi when Jay White won that, when Sonata got his ass sacrificed in the final. That's the only reason.
And the other big match that's happening is Hiromu Takahashi defending the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship against Sho. Sho has been showing off a more better version of himself, considering he's been alone for this past year.
I see
But
what you did there.
what do you say, Kaliko? Who wins the match?
The Time Bomb, because he's still the most popular guy in the fucking company. Don't get me wrong, the BSK kid, he's good, but he's not no Time Bomb. So
What about
it
Yeah.
ain't happening.
what about you, Scooter?
Like, and I gotta say, every time I look at Takahashi, I really think Naito went back in time and is both that Takahashi is just really a younger Naito with all the those red highlights and everything. But Takahashi is this might be a breakout year for Takahashi.
He's been making a push for that Junior Heavyweight Championship to main event Tokyo Dome. He already main evented, I can't remember the name of the arena.
Sengoku
Sengoku?
in Nagoya.
Or Corrigan Hall.
No,
Aichi Gymnasium.
I can't remember at this moment, but he main evented
against Evil.
an arena that was never main evented by a junior heavyweight champion before. So that was a big deal, and the company putting faith in him. So
Yeah.
if he continues down that path, that's a big possibility. So you are right about that, Scooter.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe you are referring to July 25th, Sengoku Lord in Nagoya. He battled Evil.
No, I was talking about the match against Desperado at the Super Junior finale.
But I thought but to me, I think the evil one was better
Yeah,
because
that
it
that's
had
an actual
him
main
move
event.
it had him move up from junior heavyweight to heavyweight,
True, but
and to me, that was more of the breakout than. I get what you're saying, but to me, if he's gonna break out, he's gonna have to be the heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
I see what you mean though.
And it's not far fetched because technically he's Lij's number 2.
Right.
But you can make an argument he's in popularity, he's tied for first.
And we will talk about all those matches next week on the show when we preview. It was the Nippon Budokan. Two juniors have never main evented the Budokan before. Hiromu Takahashi and Desperado main evented it. And once again, we will review those shows next week on the show. Until then, we are wrestling with WWE Royal Rumble. It was last week. It was the start of the road to WrestleMania. But I don't know. Usually the path to WrestleMania is pretty much set at the Royal Rumble and you can see where they're going. I kind of felt more confused rather than clarity. But what say you, Scooter? What did you think about the show and how we're going into WrestleMania?
Love the fact that the final two in the women's Rumble were two of my picks. Bianca, definitely the right person to push in terms of if anyone deserved it, it was Bianca for how hard she's been working. I'm not. I'm 50-50 on Edge winning.
Kind of feel the same, and we'll
Yeah.
get into that
Yeah.
for sure. But overall enjoyment. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle.
Definitely a thumbs up. I mean, with all the surprises and the potential returns, I mean, yeah, thumbs up.
What about you, Kaliko? Your thoughts on the paid preview as a whole, and thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle.
This is probably their best pay-per-view since the pandemic. And the reason being is what you said. There's no clarity. And I like the fact that there's no clarity. Because back in the day, like, remember, before they added those two freaking pay-per-views, everything would be set. We were kind of conditioned to that, right?
Right.
But now with Elimination Chamber and Fastlane, it brings more ambiguity. And the simple fact that they're adding NXT, it adds even more ambiguity. So I like the fact that us as fans get to kind of hypothesize. Because the one thing I must say, we all get pissed when we can predict shit. I can't predict shit. So to me, that's fucking awesome.
So thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle.
Oh yeah, thumbs up. This was their best pay-per-view in a while. Like, granted, I'd say this pay-per-view, Hell in a Cell, were their top pay-per-views.
Let's get into it. The first match, Drew McIntyre defeated Goldberg to retain the WWE Championship in 2 minutes and 33 seconds. I don't think anybody was expecting a 39-star match in the Tokyo Dome with these two guys. But did WWE succeed in what they were supposed to do in this match, Scooter?
I'm not sure. Everybody was almost basically counting Drew out because of the way the WWE has approached Goldberg in the last few years. I mean, this is literally the first title match that he's walked into in the last few years and hasn't won.
True.
I kind of think he.
Scooter?
I mean, yeah, Drew wins, great. But if Goldberg wasn't winning, why do it at all? And could anybody else have been in Goldberg's spot to maybe actually tell the story that maybe could have, gone at least one pay-per-view more?
True. But we do have 2 more previews before WrestleMania as well.
Yes, and I mean, and given that it looks like I was right about who Drew's WrestleMania opponent is going to be. I mean, we'll probably see them come to earn it at Elimination Chamber.
Yeah. What about you, Kaliko? What are your thoughts on Goldberg versus McIntyre?
Everything everything Scooter said, Jesus Christ, I'm getting buzzed. Everything he said is exactly why Goldberg was there, because he gets this one thing that everyone else won't get, and it's called the benefit of the doubt. And to me, the simple fact that he was in the match gave the benefit of the doubt that he could actually pull it off. And why we give him the benefit of the doubt? Because he ruined Kevin Owens' run. He ruined the Fiend's run. So he got the biggest benefit of the doubt that if there were ever a title to change hands, it would be Goldberg doing the changing. So that's why I think it was set up that way. Drew winning, to me, kind of solidified him as, yo, I'm breaking the curse. Because when they bigged up the fact that, every title Goldberg has came back to fight for, he's won. And I'm like, bro, it was just a universal title. What the fuck are they talking about? But
he hasn't been a Continental Champion.
You know what I mean? I'm sorry, like he's like, yo, let me go after this U.S. title. But the fact that they made that a big part of the story led me to believe that it meant more for Drew to stop that shit. And I think Scooter's right in the sense that it was going to go with Sheamus, which is why I didn't really pick him to win the Royal Rumble, because I felt like it was going to be something where it was going to be storyline centered. It didn't really need a Royal Rumble win to mucky it up. You know what I mean? It was pretty crystal clear how that was going to go, especially the way that it was going with the Keith Lee thing. And that's why, oh my God, Keith Lee didn't even make the Rumble because of the Rona. Fucking A. I thought Keith, that's a whole other issue.
I guess you could say that was his reckoning.
Oh, that joke of the night.
dad joke of the night. But yeah, I thought Keith Lee was gonna win, so it would be Keith Lee and Drew, with Sheamus bringing in that doubt. So now with Sheamus coming in, it's a clear storyline. So to me, Edge is either picking Roman or Finn. I don't think he's picking Sheamus. But that's a whole nother thing. We'll get to that.
Next match up, Sasha Banks defeated Carmella with Reginald to retain the SmackDown Women's Championship in 10 minutes and 22 seconds. I kind of feel like this rivalry has run its course. And it's time for Sasha to move on. What say you, Scooter?
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, I mean, they moved the tag title to the kickoff show for this instead, and I'm not sure if either one was the right way to go. But I mean, usually the new gimmick, especially for women, that usually means. I mean, unless you're, Emelina, usually means success. And Carmella is just gonna go back to floundering again, and just yeah, you know what? Before I say something I regret, I'll stop here and just be like, Sasha can move on, and we don't have to worry about Carmella getting back in the picture.
As we're reporting this, Carmella has just won the SmackDown Women's Championship. What say you, Kaliko?
Wow. Well, I kind of figured they wouldn't do all that for Carmella if Carmella. Personally, I think Carmella is pretty solid. And to me,
Underrated talent.
Yeah, underrated, and I think it's because of the looks and the way that she came in and all this stuff. So it kind of like didn't pan out with the fans as far as from the wrestling sense, but from a popularity sense, it did. And she was a Money in the Bank winner, and to me, Bianca winning the Royal Rumble, it kind of forced their hand to get Sasha out of the picture, mainly because of the simple fact that WrestleMania is about making that spotlight and conquering the bad guy. Like, as much as we that's basically what it is. WrestleMania is the spot where all 99% of the good guys go over, unless your name's Triple H. But 99% of the good guys go over, and they get put into a stratosphere. And I think, personally, I felt like Bianca, if she wins the title at Mania, it would have been better if it was Bayley than Carmella. Not knocking Carmella, but the fact that Bayley she has the ability to big up Bianca on the way to the match. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Carmella, I like her, and she's a good heel to get over. But I feel like if, let's say, like, for shits and giggles, what if Bayley had kept the title all the way to WrestleMania and Bianca fucking conquered her? That would have been a bigger deal. You know what I mean?
True.
That's why I say that. But, I mean, if Carmella's the champ, that means Bianca Carmella, and Bianca's going to get all of her good stuff out, and I'm so happy for her. The only thing, like I said, I don't like about her, she was a Tennessee Volunteer, and I'm a UGA fan, so we kind of got this thing going. But other than that, I couldn't be more happier for someone who, keep in mind, she made her debut at a pandemic-less, fanless WrestleMania, and now she gets to have her time, possibly with fans, and come full circle. So, I mean, that means a lot.
And let's actually get into it. Bianca Belair won the Women's Royal Rumble match in 58 minutes and 49 seconds. There was a lot going on in this match. We got the return of Jillian Hall, Troy Wilson. Alicia Fox actually won the.
Alicia Fox, man.
She actually won the 24/7 championship in this match.
48-7, 7-11, 365.
Really,
I-95 North.
honestly, a fun match. The two last women in the match was Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. Obviously, Belair is going on to WrestleMania. But what does it say about Rhea Ripley? I mean, honestly, ever since the match with Charlotte, she's been fluttering, grasping for air. And, this could have been a moment for her to kind of redeem herself. And they kind of didn't give it to her. Do you think that's the company not believing in her? Or does it kind of give you a little bit hope that they are going with her, considering she was in the top two?
I think it's the. I think they're approaching it now the same way with Shayna when Becky won, or when Charlotte won. I'm sorry. Because it was Charlotte and Shayna in the last year. And the fact that Ripley didn't win isn't necessarily a bad thing. She is being called up along with Damian Priest, who is now officially a part of the Raw brand, along with Bad Bunny. You got to say it that way, or else it.
Bad Bunny.
Yeah, but and that makes me think is going to be part of Raw. And I'll be honest, Asuka and Rhea, probably a dream match we didn't know we needed. Probably as the ability to be a bigger match than a Bayley Sasha Iron Woman rematch.
You have a point there, but again, she kind of lost her way, so we might get that match, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it would be the match we need it to be if it does happen. You kind of understand what I mean?
Yeah, it's true, but then you could also look like, okay, Shayna, okay, won the Elimination Chamber. Okay, and we also got to remember Rhea could win the Elimination Chamber too.
That's true.
But then again, Shayna won the Chamber, dominated, ended up not winning at WrestleMania. Of course, Becky was a month or so pregnant at the time without realizing it. So, and quite honestly, if Becky had known before then, Shayna would have won, without a doubt. But I got a feeling I think they're going to invest more into Ripley. especially if they really make her just somebody who just like a female Stone Cold.
Well,
Just come in and wreck everybody.
how about you, Kaliko? What are your thoughts on Rhea Ripley?
I can see what Scooter's saying. Because to be quite honest, when you think about it, it would make sense for her to win the Elimination Chamber than the Royal Rumble. And here's why. Bianca was already featured as far as a redemption, or not a redemption, of more of a proof that she belongs, right? And what better way to prove that you belong than by winning, the Royal Rumble, right? Because it's one of those things where it's a random thing, right? Um, Keep in mind, Asuka does not have an opponent at WrestleMania, so Rhea Ripley could easily win and jump in the Raw, qualify for the Chamber, win the Chamber. And if you look at the landscape, Charlotte's busy with Lacey. Nia and Shayna are champs. Alexa's more busy with Randy.
True.
So it gives her not only a person of high quality opponent, but it puts her back in the spotlight. And then you could talk about the whole redemption of, I was here last year. I feel like I failed. I will not fail this time. Does that make sense?
Right.
Mm, yeah, I mean, given the fact that before the whole pandemic shut everything down, they were looking to go all out with Rhea.
That's true.
They filmed all those vignettes in Raymond James Stadium.
Now, Bianca Belair.
Not to mention that the precedent that was set in the sense that a Royal Rumble winner went after the NXT championship. So that tells you that they think highly of her, because that precedent that broke a lot of precedent. You see what I'm saying?
Oh,
So that to me meant more for Rhea than anything, because for Charlotte to go, I want to go after the NXT championship, kind of says a lot.
Let's talk about Bianca for a moment. Who do you think she's going to challenge? The Raw, the SmackDown, or the NXT Women's Championship? Scooter?
it's an interesting scenario because she's been kicking ass on SmackDown. She's got clean wins over Bayley and Carmella. But yeah, but there's something that just makes me think Sasha and Bianca is such a right pairing. Then there's also the possibility of Bianca's got all this newfound confidence. Is she going to look to right one of the biggest wrongs of her career and choose Io Shirai?
That's what I was thinking.
That could be a great match, but I don't know, something about the boss and the EST. It seems like it's the story that WWE wants. It could be the bossest match.
So you're going with Sasha and the SmackDown's championship?
Yeah, I mean it really it just makes the most sense.
What say you, Kaliko?
Husband on SmackDown, she going to SmackDown.
Well, I didn't want to be like, oh well, she's gonna rely on her man.
Well, not that, but more in the sense that hell, her husband right there, to go be right there with her. It's very rare that they split the husband wife team. But in essence, it makes sense for SmackDown because SmackDown is the, as much as I hate to say this, and it's just like, it feels like SmackDown is the wrestling show. Uh, it feels like that there's more like people to wrestle in a sense of having great matches and good feuds. Because remember, she just got there, and granted, yes, she got clean wins over Bailey and Carmella, but that to me that doesn't stop them from being formidable challenges. I feel if wait a minute, Carmella's the champ now, right?
No, Sasha's the champion right now.
Sasha's still the champ. All right. So Sasha Bianca is a bigger matchup in a sense where it's almost kind of like the young Padawan going after the sensei. And just to prove that she belongs, because keep in mind, Sasha is the one who's number one on PWI or Sports Illustrated top wrestlers, and I'm like, all right, that makes more sense for her to go after the number one, because everything about her is EST. So fast ass, strong ass, bad ass, bossy ass,
Tough S.
tough ass, rough ass, smart ass. I must admit that is like I like those. I can't do it like her, but you get my point.
Let's
I just think she's the Eastern Standard Time.
let's get to the next match. Last man standing match for the Universal Championship. Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman defeated Kevin Owens. Honestly, this was probably my favorite match on the card. These guys murdered each other, and one of the most unique finishes in a last man standing match I've seen in quite some time. What say you, Scooter?
uh, yeah. Uh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, 9 times out of 10 in last man standing matches, we're expecting some sort of like out of nowhere, finisher where like maybe it's like a race to get to your feet. No, this was a brawl and a half, and then when Roman really essentially realized that he could literally throw the entirety of Tropicana Field at Kevin Owens, that he would literally have to render him unconscious to the point if he wanted to succeed. And you know what the funny thing is, I don't think we're done.
Another round with Owens?
Oh, I think it looks that way.
Ugh. I mean, that's always been a problem with WWE. They either go too far, too long, or too short with a rivalry. What was your thoughts on the match, Kaliko?
Excellent storytelling, in the sense that we didn't even notice that Roman couldn't get the cuffs off.
Yes.
And the fact that he threw the ref in that bit, that is very like usually that is the most. It was the most unorthodox uh, uh, last man standing match. But I like the fact that he did that because it just showed, it's no DQs. I could bust the ref up like before it gets to 10. You know what I mean? And granted, they had that little hiccup, but that hiccup didn't kill the overall vibe of the match. To me, to me, Roman and everybody. And I hate when people say this. Roman's doing his best work since he was a heel, and I say he's doing his best work character wise. as you know, his best work
Best
characterized.
promos.
Wrestling wise,
Promos.
he never. I mean, just in essence, the look on his face when Adam Pearce said "card subject to change" was
Right.
like I just want to like. His face looked like it takes everything in me not to slap the shit out of you right now, right? So that that's what we were looking for with Roman, and to me, this is like his best run as far as acting and character development ever. That being said, we got to figure out who's gonna be his opponent at Mania. I mean, this is where it's gonna get interesting for Roman, or sorry, the head of the table, or the tribal chief, or whichever monkey he wants to be called nowadays. Don't shoot me, Roman. I'm just.
And that brings us to our last match, the main event of the night. Edge won the Men's Royal Rumble match in 58 minutes and 29 seconds. We saw the return of Carlito Caribbean Cool, and
Oh my god.
oh my God, he looked like he ate the original Carlito.
No, I said this the night of the Royal Rumble to a friend of mine. I was like, because Kane came out before Carlito, and I was like, Kane is what I am, and Carlito is who I strive to be. Like, for fuck's sakes, where the hell is this guy?
As you alluded to, Kane made his 18th appearance in a Royal Rumble and eliminated a record 45 people overall in his Rumble career. Um, Definitely the most unexpected. We got Christian returned and in ring gear, ready to wrestle, legitimately. Uh, Damian Priest made his main roster debut, and your last two people in the match was Edge and Randy Orton, who started the match. A lot to unpack here. Maybe let's start with Carlito. Uh, uh, Kaliko, you already said a little bit about him. What about you, Scooter? What do you think about Carlito coming back and maybe
Going from
staying with WWE?
Carlito to Carliton. Uh, I mean, like Carlito going to the John Silver School of Transformation. Um, was suddenly coming out all like jacked. I mean, I guess an apple a day really does keep the doctor away. And I'm glad that Carlito finally caught a ride to Legends Night. After being left on that boat during the ENC show that totally.
Oh yeah, the ENC. Oh my god, that show was like underrated as fuck. I love that.
Carlito is apparently the rumor is they're gonna I guess Carlito is this year's MVP, so to speak. I don't mean like actually like most valuable player. I mean like MVP is in MVP's got a job again. Now Carlito's gonna have a job again, and it looks like Carlito and Elias are going to a feud.
I mean, that's a shame. For Carlito, anyway.
But I mean, good for good for him. I mean, Carlito is like, you expect him to be like this, like, comparing him to what Chris Masters looks like now, you'd expect Carlito to not really look like Carlito anymore. Instead, he looks like two Carlitos. But it's
And
just, it's just good for him, man.
the main problem I heard about Carlito was that he was lazy in his first run with WWE. He was unmotivated. He was not wanting to be there, rather the nightlife rather than the wrestling life. Carlito, this is an older, wiser Carlito. Do you see that changing for him and maybe getting a bigger opportunity in WWE right now?
Shit, the way he looked, fuck out of here, man. Who said he was lazy? That motherfucker's swole as hell. Like, he look, man, look. I, man, when I saw that dude, I mean, I seen him, outside, and I was like, yo, this dude getting swole. But when he came back, bro, the only way I could put this into term is like, in WWE, he was like Gucci Mane, as far as body wise. He just was looking like a slob, right?
I think Gucci Man is more appropriate.
Gucci Mane. See,
Yeah.
ATL, Gucci Mane. But Gucci Mane now is like a swole motherfucker. And I'm looking like, bro, what have I been going wrong with in my life? The only thing I hate about the pandemic is the fact that Carlito can't do his spit in the face thing anymore. So it kind of fucks that part up, but everything else, he's good to go, man.
I mean, basically, Carlito's been apparently, training with Carrot Top.
Oh yeah, because Carrot Top's swole as fuck.
Jacked.
Yes, hey, I'm looking at them like, bro, I need their like personal trainers. Like, this is like can't be life where Gucci Mane is more swole than me. I refuse to let that happen.
The second major return was Christian. He hasn't wrestled since 2014, I believe. Is this a big return, or is it a big asset to actually have him as an in-ring competitor? What say you, Scooter?
I mean, considering that we thought that he was kind of like, if he takes another hit, like a serious like bump, like he really won't get back up. Back when he was involved in the Randy Orton Drew McIntyre feud, and then Christian comes back. While Edge, after Edge comes back, and suddenly Christian has this renewed fire, which really makes me think that the intention was to bring Christian back along with Edge last year. After and just I really hope, like, oh no. Okay, I thought maybe I lost a. I'm really hoping the Fastlane main event is probably Edge and Christian teaming together.
That'd be awesome.
Against for the probably Roman and Jay.
Interesting. Well, that kind of brings us to, the winner, Edge. You said that it was a 50-50. You might like it, you might not like it. I'm in the sense of, if he actually challenges Finn Balor for the NXT championship, and kind of have Drew do his thing, Roman do his thing, but have this like little special match that kind of enhances NXT, I would actually be really okay with that and really like that. But if he goes after, one of the major titles, I feel like it's giving somebody else's spot to somebody that might not necessarily deserve it as much. What say you, Kaliko?
To me, Edge is Teflon though. Like this is the one time where if he loses, it won't be held against him, right? Like the one thing we usually do with Mania losses, like Nakamura won the Royal Rumble, everybody was excited, and then he lost, and it wasn't the same, right? Asuka won the Royal Rumble, lost at Mania, kind of wasn't the same, right? Um, Edge is in that space where if he loses, it's not a killer, right? Um, if you saw him on NXT, he basically kind of bigged up NXT for being the reason that he even got passion to come back in the first place. So to me, NXT would seem fitting because Finn has no opponent. And there has been rumblings about Finn defending the title at Mania.
Right.
And the reason I said Edge going the winner of the Royal Rumble going after the NXT title seems relevant because the precedent was set with Charlotte last year. So to me, that put NXT in the conversation of okay, I could go after that belt too because in essence NXT is no longer developmental. Like let's just call it what it is. It's literally its own brand. And so to me, Edge winning was not the worst thing, considering, and it made sense in a storyline sense because, I mean, shit, it's fucking Edge. Like, ain't nobody gonna complain about Edge. You know what I mean? In a world where you would say, okay, at a Royal Rumble, Goldberg loses the title match and Edge wins the Royal Rumble, you would say that's a pretty good fucking night.
True.
But, you got people bit. Yeah, and I can see why people 50-50 on it. But Edge in itself has committed to himself being a full-time wrestler, so I don't see the issue with it, man. I mean, keep in mind when he retired, he still had a lot left to give to the wrestling business. So to me, I mean, let him exhaust it all out as much as he wants to.
You want to add to that, Scooter?
Yeah. I mean, let's run down the achievements from this. Once again, the third person to win the Royal Rumble from the number one spot, of course, Shawn Michaels in '95, and He Who Must Not Be Named in 2004. The first wrestler to win a Royal Rumble after being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And this is the third time that the first and second entrants lasted the entire match to be the final two, of course, again happening in '95 and in '99 with Vince and Steve Austin. Not in 2004 like we had thought, James.
Right. So
I mean, honestly, I probably would love a Balor Edge match more than a Roman Edge match. But I think
context is king when it comes to both of those matches.
yes, I think there's more to do with Roman in terms of story, and it's such a drastic difference between Roman and Edge. Like, Edge was spearing people into the mat before Roman had it shouted his first "Hoorah!" Uh, 5 times a day I'd be like, "Spear, spear, spear, spear," and when you grow up, you're gonna be wrong. All that great stuff that Edge did. God, I love that. What did you with the whiny? What was it with the whiny turtles?
The whiny
Oh,
turtles.
oh, Edge. God, and if I could remember the term, I'd be able to find it.
What decade was that in?
Um. Oh, great. Now I have to find it.
Alright, so
But I think there's more in terms of padding for story. Uh, Roman Edge is probably the better spear versus spear match. I mean, especially if Christian gets involved and okay, me. Yes, I'd love to see Edge and a Christian team one last time. Because I don't think Christian would be a full-time return.
no, it's a part-time.
I think Christian would really have one match, and part of me is thinking Fastlane is Roman against Christian.
So you're going with Edge versus Roman Reigns at Mania for the Universal Championship.
Yeah, just based on logic and context. Do I want to see it more than Finn Balor and Edge? No.
What about you, Kaliko? Who is Edge challenging? The WWE, Universal, or NXT champion?
If you look at percentages, I'd say 50% NXT, 40% SmackDown, 10% Raw.
Interesting.
And the reason being is because Raw, McIntyre is the guy. So it would make sense for Edge to go against the guy, right?
True.
SmackDown, Roman's kind of not ran through everyone, but there's no big face that is up there to Roman's level to go against, right?
True.
NXT, he seemed the most invested from his own words. When he was on the show Wednesday, he seemed more invested in it, saying he's keeping his eye on it, and I'll let you know. And then the carrying cross,
that
thing kind of threw me for a curve, right?
Yeah.
So those little seeds lets me know it's one of those two more so than Raw, because Raw, the Sheamus story is going to invest itself.
Right.
The SmackDown story, once Roman gets rid of Kevin, he could do the Christian thing and bring Edge into it. The NXT thing is just a wrestler's dream. So that's why I would go with those. Those are my percentages.
All right. And we will conclude our coverage of the Royal Rumble tonight. And we will be back next week and to see what he might actually do. And whatever he does, we're going to cover it. Until then, you can catch us this Wednesday as we interview Space Jesus, Billy Starks, and a must-listen interview that's just awesome. I don't think we, toot our own horn when we say that these are quality interviews that are must-listen.
But toot.
I mean, if the wrestlers are saying it in the interview live, it means something, right?
And until then, you could like, subscribe, and comment both on YouTube and Castbox. And join the conversation on Twitter. Our official Twitter handle is Wrestling with E for all the news and goings ons for everything that is wrestling and entertainment. You can find me on Twitter as well at JamesJ993. Where can they find Kaliko?
Find Kaliko being Buzzy McBuzzy at I Am Kaliko.
And where can they find Scooter Dust?
You can find me staring outside your living room window. You have a great taste in carpet. You can also find me on Twitter at Scooter Dust and hold it down for the UNB Network and UNBS Wrestling.
Staring out your window with the carpet. I got hardwoods, bastard.
For Kaliko Yachts, Scooter Dust, I'm James Shea, and this has been Wrestling with Entertainment.